Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Gamson, CEO of Relativity, and I am delighted to be joined today by Paul Mancu, the President of International at Relativity, a leading international legal tech services provider. And Paul's been a friend of Relativity for many years, a partner as the CEO of Inventus since 2009. Inventus and now Relativity, which rebranded in June of 2020, has been a leader both at Relativity Server and now with RelativityOne, with incredible forward progress in their managed service business and in really being a leader in technology and services coming together. Paul, I'm delighted to have you here. We're looking forward to having a conversation.
Mike, great to be here. Thanks for inviting me to do this. And as you say, we have a long historied relationship. 2009, quite correct. I think we were the third relativity provider in the UK. I think one of only three at that time. And I was really excited when we got together with Legility and Inventus, the business that I was CEO of, was merged at the beginning of this year, because it really gave us the opportunity to take all of those experts that we have internally, take all of that skill set and apply it to a much broader range of those challenges. Legility has a great history coming at it from a slightly different angle, not necessarily from the e-discovery world, but actually from the more general legal work. So that's non-contentious matters, flex talent, enterprise legal services. As we built our business globally, we always had in mind that as well as that foundational aspect of consistency and standardization, that we were able to adapt and be agile, hence our name, Agility, which is a combination of legal and agility, if you hadn't picked that up already. I'm really glad that we've continued to build our relationship and journey and really pleased to be here to chat through that with you.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. You are certainly no stranger to global scale. With more than 30 locations and experience with your 8 data centers, you've been running globally for a long time. Now, how does your global presence play a part in your decision to recently become a big RelativityOne partner?
I think the key to global scale and it being meaningful to clients is actually, what does it mean in terms of service delivery, functionality, and ultimately outcomes to them. So scale is great. It allows a company to be more efficient. It allows them to deliver greater value at better price points to clients. But I think the flexibility alongside that is key. So having consistency, having a standard process on a global basis is really, really critical for any business, particularly our type of business where you need to get that right. RelativityOne allows us to extend that reach into the public cloud realm and give our clients more choices around all of those aspects of functionality and how we deliver service to them.
And as such an experienced and sophisticated global company, I know security has been a top priority for you for many years. How did RelativityOne's security posture impact your decision to move now into the public cloud?
I would say it was up there amongst the top 1 or 2 critical factors in our decision. So clearly, in the environment where cybersecurity is, top of the agenda in the C-suite, we've seen many instances across industries of cyber attacks, of phishing, of ransomware, of all of these kind of things. The C-suite is attuned to those risks. The posture that Relativity took from day one, and this is way before we frankly were even considering signing up to bring RelOne as part of our portfolio, the stance that Relativity took by building a very deep and broad bench of top experts in cybersecurity, and really being very open about how much effort was going into that and what kind of stance was being taken, was critical in us having comfort, but also us being able to impart that to our clients as to how they could use the public cloud in a safe environment.
And Paul, you've been a leader in managed services for quite a long time now. And I know you've been a great observer of some of the changes in that market. I'd love if you could share with our audiences any insights you have about what's going on in the managed service business and how does RelativityOne help you manifest your strategy there?
I think clients have moved from a transactional view of e-discovery to a strategic view. And that strategic view is, but how do I get someone who actually understands my business, can work with me over the short, medium, and long term, and deliver continuing value to my business? The other piece of it is bringing into view, the broader expanse of what legal technology is and what it can do, and the whole concept of legal efficiency, and as we are law companies or new law. I think both the General Counsel and the General Counsel's team, as well as the C-suite, have asked, well, what is possible in terms of legal delivery, both internally and also working with our external counsel. And that has brought into view a much longer period of time, a much longer purview of who they work with and how they work with them. So managed services, as I say, for me, is just the maturation of the procurement of those elements of legal technology and efficiency. And what we found is that clients are much more likely now to contract with us on a 3 or 5 year basis in order to work with us much more integrally to deliver value to their business.
Well, it's an exciting future. We are very grateful for your partnership, and we're very, very grateful that you continue to select us to be your partner on that journey. Thank you, Paul, so much. We really appreciate you.
Welcome to Relativity Fest 2020. Thank you so much for joining us for this session, Transition Seamlessly to RelativityOne. I'm Melissa Maloney, a senior product manager with our RelativityOne storage product offerings, and I'm so excited to be joined with Sebastian Kacha, a senior product manager in our data transfer area, focused on our migration product offerings. Just want to start off by saying if you do have any questions during this session, please feel free to use the chat box and ask those during the session, and we'll jump in and make sure we get those answered. I want to thank Mike and Paul for a great kickoff to this session as we talk about making the move to the cloud and to RelativityOne. We know this can be a big transformation for your business, and often that word transformation can sound a little daunting and scary. But here at Relativity, we work with you as your partner, alongside with you, building what is needed to make that happen so it can actually be a new and exciting change for you. And so I want to do a quick reminder. Paul kicked us off with the top two of these, like the value that comes with this transformation and why we're seeing the rise to enterprise SaaS, with the value of having your data very secure, and as well as having a consistent global experience as you consider expansion without having to do any additional effort on your own. A few others are the value of being able to have a scalable, extensible, and flexible platform to handle any type of job that you need to do. And the last one, really allowing your company to focus less on operating your system and your infrastructure, which frees up your team's time to focus more on customers, on innovation, on improvements, and more. And so since RelativityOne launched in 2017, you can see some numbers here, but we have seen over 5 petabytes of data added to RelativityOne. And that shows how much is coming in from customers that have made this decision to move to the SaaS offering. And these numbers continue to change daily, and shows the continued acceptance of moving to the cloud and the confidence with RelativityOne. We know that making the move to the cloud, and specifically with RelativityOne, is a strategic decision that includes many considerations. And because of that, Relativity is constantly working on making improvements to make this transition more seamless and as smooth as possible for our customers. We're doing this across many different areas, and the 3 that we're going to touch on today fall into our commercial offerings, our product strategy, specifically around our migration offerings that Sebastian's going to do a deep dive in. And then the third one being around our product storage offerings when you move into RelativityOne, how you can manage your data there. So let's start with the commercial offerings. Earlier this year, we announced new pricing options to provide more value, more flexibility, and more simplicity. With these two options, I'm going to touch on, we'll start with the pay-as-you-go option, which, as its name implies, is an option customers have to pay for what they use on a month-to-month basis. With this, there's no upfront or long-term commitments. And really, this is a great way to try out RelativityOne, put a few cases in, and have the option to switch to a longer-term contract when you're comfortable or as it's needed. The second one is Flex Commit, and it's an option that pay-as-you-go customers can transition over to, or customers can start from the get-go to unlock additional discounts. As the way Flex Commit works is you lock into a unit rate for your data and your users, and then you can use that at any time. And so really there's flexibility built into this option as well, because you're able to use that at any time during your contract. And so it really can align with and move with the ebbs and flows of your business, allowing you to strike the right balance. Next, moving into our product strategy, I want to just quickly touch on our global availability with our data center network, which is really designed to meet the needs of both our international and our global customers as they expand. And I'm excited to share that if you haven't heard, this summer, we launched 2 new data centers in Germany and Switzerland, and we're constantly assessing the opportunity as well as the need to add more. And with that, I want to hand it over to Sebastian to share Migrate.
Thank you, Melissa. When you think about migrating your data from your Relativity server instance to RelativityOne, before doing so, you can already experience seamless connectivity between these instances. Let me show you these benefits first before I move to Migrate. Workspaces tab enables you to view the list of all the workspaces from both Relativity Server and RelativityOne in one single tab. So regardless of the number of instances you have, you can work on all of them from one place. You can navigate between these instances seamlessly using single sign-on, which means that you can access many environments while only having to log in once. And finally, with our user and group synchronization application, you can synchronize users, groups, OpenID login methods, as well as clients between these instances to keep the data up to date. So summarizing, with these 3 elements, Workspaces tab, single sign-on, and user group synchronization application, you can experience seamless connectivity between your Relativity server and RelativityOne instance. With that, let me show you how you can seamlessly touch the cloud with Migrate. So what is Migrate? Migrate is going to be our new product for migrating workspaces from Relativity server to RelativityOne instance. It will have the same philosophy from the backend perspective, like archiving, transferring, and restoring, however, with completely new user experience based on Arrow UI, thanks to which you will be able to migrate hundreds or even thousands of workspaces in one product in just 6 clicks, as opposed to 90+ clicks today in multiple tools. So Migrate will give you pretty significant user experience improvement. But also it will give you speed improvement from both transfer speed perspective, aiming 5 terabytes per day per client, but also process speed improvement perspective, providing more automation, making migration planning much easier and more automated. And last but not least, limiting the downtime to absolute minimum. All right, so we are in RelativityOne because Migrate will be available in RelativityOne. The assumption is that all the configuration permissions are already set. And this is the first step you're going to see when you click on Migrate in RelOne. So let me show you one thing here. So here you can see migration source. It is pretty important because this is the Relativity server from which you are going to migrate your workspaces. So of course, you can add more Relativity server instances if you have one, and they will be all available in this dropdown here. So whichever server instance will be chosen here, you will be able to see the workspaces from this particular server instance. So for this use case, you're going to migrate your workspaces from US server instance. Right now, we are in the context of step number 1, which is select and assign workspaces. So on this step, you're going to select workspaces that you would like to migrate and assign them to migration profiles. And when I'm saying profiles, I mean predefined settings where you are defining what data you are going to migrate and where. So let me show you this. Let's assume that you would like to filter by matter name called Relativity Fast Chicago. All right. System found 48 workspaces for this matter name. So let's select all of them. Just click here. And right now, we need to assign these workspaces to migration profile, clicking on this button. Let me do this. We will have some predefined profiles already available for you, like all profile, which means that you are going to migrate all the data from these workspaces to RelativityOne. No processing. You don't need processing data. You can choose this profile and so on. Also, we'll be able to create the custom profile, but I will show you this in a minute. So for this use case, let's choose all profile and assign all of these workspaces to all profile. They disappeared from this view because we are in the context of unassigned workspaces. So let's move to the assigned workspaces tab. And here you can find all these workspaces assigned to all profile. And by the way, you won't need to switch between those two tabs. You can just use only this one, all, which includes both assigned and unassigned. But for the purpose of this demo, I would like to differentiate between these two tabs. So let's assume that by mistake you assigned 2 workspaces that you would like to actually unassign for migration. You can still do that. Just select them and choose unassigned option. All right, let's get back to unassigned workspaces tab and add some more workspaces for this migration. So I will choose these 3 and assign them to different profile. Let's assume that for these workspaces, you don't need analytics data to be migrated. So I will choose no analytics profile. And again, let's check the migration scope. So we assigned some workspaces to no analytics profile, some to all profile. As I mentioned, also you'll be able to manage profiles. So when I click on manage profile link over here, you will be able to first of all change some settings for existing profiles, like all, no analytics, or no processing. But also you'll be able to create your own custom profile if needed by just clicking on this link. But let me show you one pretty important thing here, destination. In the profile, you will be able to define whether you would like to migrate your workspaces to review, repository, or maybe directly to cold storage, because you are migrating inactive workspaces and you would like to manage your storage costs in R1 as soon as possible. So you can also do this. This is on our roadmap as well. All right, so let me close this model. And so we completed step number 1. We selected workspaces for migration and assigned them to migration profile. Let's move to step number 2. And in order to do that, I just need to click on preview migration. And system is creating the preview of my migration right now. In this step, you can see, first of all, some summary information about your migration wave, like how many workspaces you assigned for migration, what is the data size, what is the total files count, when migration is going to start, and during what downtime you're going to migrate your workspaces. And also you'll be able to manage email notifications and manage bandwidth. So let me show you this. When I click on manage email notification, you'll be able to paste some email addresses that you would like to notify about different migration progress. And by manage bandwidth, you can, if you have really strong internet connection, you don't need to worry about this. You can just leave the default value, which is do not limit bandwidth. But if for a reason you would like to throttle your migration, you will be able to do so as well. On previous step, also, you'll be able to move workspaces up and down to build kind of priority for them. So let's assume that this workspace, Cosette versus Euphrates, is really important for you, and you would like to start working on it in RelativityOne right after the migration completes. So you would like to move these workspaces at the top, just drag and drop, and it will be migrated as the first one. This will allow you to build kind of priority for your important workspaces. All right, and let me focus for a while on these elements. We call it scheduler. So scheduler will give you ability of planning your migration. Let me show you how to do this. So for this case, system calculates the start end date based on the scope, but let's assume that you cannot start your migration on the 22nd of October. So when you click on it, you can change your date, right? So let's assume that you can start your migration on the 24th of October, 2 days later. When you choose this date, system will give you 3 options, basically. And without going into details on this model, you will be able to either extend the end date because you are going to start later. You can extend the end date, keeping the downtime as scheduled. If you cannot change the end date, you can keep the end date as scheduled, but extend the downtime for your migration. But if you're not flexible with dates, you'll be able also to keep the dates as scheduled, but reduce the migration scope. And we would love to give you information about what it means to reduce migration scope. So for example, you need to reduce it by under 1 terabytes of data. So for this case, I'm going to choose option number 2, which is keep downtime as scheduled, but I'm going to extend my end date because I'm flexible with that. So I will just confirm this change, and you can notice that the end date has been changed into 30th of October. So summarizing, scheduler will give you some flexibility in terms of migration planning. What might be the impact if I change start date, end date, or downtime, or what might be the impact on dates if I change the migration scope. With this, we completed the previous step, and in order to move to the next step, just click on Migrate Workspaces here. When I click on it, system will give me summary information about my migration, about scope, schedule, and settings for email notification and bandwidth. If I'm okay with that, just click Migrate Workspaces, and I start my migration. All right, and right now I'm on the last step of the workflow, which is called Migrate. And here I can monitor my migration. So I can do this from 2 levels, from the migration level perspective. So I can see how many workspaces have been migrated already, the same with data size, the same with files, but also I can verify my progress from particular workspace perspective. So here I can see that some workspaces have been already migrated, they are completed. Some of them are different states. So let me show you what it means that workspace is in progress at 63%. In order to do that, just click on details here. And here I can see some more information about the progress of particular workspace. And if you remember at the very beginning of presentation, I mentioned that the backend of Migrate is going to be like archive, transfer, and restore. So that is why we build the progress information in the same way. So we can clearly say that this workspace has been already archived. And if you need, you can check some more information about the archive job. When we move to the transferring tab, you can tell that actually workspace is being transferred right now. And also you can have some additional information about this transfer job. And finally, restoring hasn't been started yet, so this is at 0%. And also finally, you can notice that if for any reason you would like to delete or remove the workspace from migration, you will be able to do this as well. Or if you would like to pause it, make some adjustments and resume, it is also on our roadmap. So with that, let me just summarize. So entire workflow for Migrate consists of 3 steps. So first step is select and assign Migration Workspaces to Migration Profile. On Preview, you can change dates or maybe change migration scope and make some additional settings. And on Migrate, you can just monitor your migration. With that, let me get back to the presentation and I will show you the roadmap. So I have presented to you the full scope of Migrate. However, right now I would like to show you how we will get there, how we are going to implement all of these features. The first release is planned for end of 2020. However, it is going to be only for limited customers and with basic workflow. The global release, however, is planned for Q1 2021, when we are planning to add some features like profiles that I have just presented to you, as well as automated workspace help checks to give you some advanced information about misconfigured workspaces on your server side to avoid some failures during migration. But basically, 2021 plus will be pretty busy for us in terms of big rocks, if you will, starting from file sync feature. This feature will allow you to transfer repository files in advance of migration and sync all the differentials that may appear meantime. So the concept is that by the time of workspace migration, all the repository files will be already in RelativityOne up to date, thanks to which the migration scope will be smaller and the downtime will be limited to the minimum. Of course, another feature is detailed migration progress information, the scheduler that I mentioned also during the demo, and last but not least, migrating to cold storage or repository to help you managing your storage costs immediately right after migration. And by the way, Melissa is going to tell you more about storage options. Okay, so with that, I hope you have better understanding about what Migrate is, how it is going to look like to migrate with Migrate, and finally, how we are going to implement Migrate on production. So thank you so much for listening, and I hand over to Melissa again.
Thank you, Sebastian. Very exciting. And as Sebastian noted, as you go through your migration strategy and make decisions where to place data, you're able to do that because RelativityOne offers different data storage areas to allow for flexibility and optimization of your data. So really you can do more with less. And we know that data at different stages in its life has different importance. And so we've structured these offerings in a way that will allow you to manage it with rates that are proportionate. Additionally, through supported workflows, you can simply manage your data from the beginning to the end of its life to really maximize your value with RelativityOne. And with that, we hope you've learned a lot and are more comfortable with this transition to RelativityOne in all aspects, including the commercial offerings, the product strategy, specifically around how you'll actually migrate your data from server to RelativityOne, and then once in RelativityOne, how you'll be able to manage your data there. We want to thank you so much for your time and attending this session. We've shared our contact details here, so you can reach out if you have any follow-up questions. And if you'd like to learn more about Migrate, there's an additional session called Choosing Your Data Migration Strategy, where you'll get to see Sebastian again, along with some of our other colleagues. And in addition to that, we also have a Migrate page as part of the Fast Relativity experience. So we encourage you to check those out to learn more. And lastly, we also ask that you take a few minutes to fill out the survey about this session so we can get feedback. Thanks so much.
Thank you.